Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé, the other way. Let's watch.
Hola, hola, chicas.
Mis estimadas.
Hola.
Hola. ¿Cómo estás?
Todo bien.
I didn't tell Corey why my sisters wanted to talk to him because I want him to go there with no guards up, so he gets by surprise.
So you know that your sisters are going to be angry at him, and you don't tell him beforehand because you want it to be a surprise. So this is passive aggression at its best. I think. I guess I could hold out for another explanation, but it's possible that she knows that her sisters are going to blast him and that she wants that to happen. And so the passive aggression is, I'm angry at you and I'm going to hide that aggression by triangulating my sisters. I'm also going to hide that aggression by not telling you what they're going to do so that it'll look like I didn't do anything wrong. Now, it's totally fine if Evelin is hurt that he got dated another woman in Peru while they were broken up, by the way, but while they were still legally married. It's fine if she's hurt. And there's ways to talk about that. You don't have to triangulate other people. And it's also fine if Corey's like, you broke up with me and I thought we were over because you broke up with me. And also you had said many times you didn't want to marry me. And so I left and it was over and I dated someone for a week. I don't understand what the problem was. So let's see how this conversation goes.
No, it's because Leslie got you a different dish.
Oh, this is a different one.
Yep.
Okay.
Yo ordené una sopa llamada caldo de tronquito.
Es una sopa tradicional que la comen los hombres aquí.
Te convierte en hombre.
O eso es lo que se piensa.
Okay, I'm just going to take a guess and say that it's tripe, intestine or stomach. And I've had it. It's fine. It's not amazing. I don't know. If you didn't tell me it was stomach, I would think it was just like chicken skin, maybe. I don't know. Isn't that what menudo means? But who knows? I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe I'm guessing they're going to. Now I will say that it's a little mean to order someone food without asking them what they want to eat. And if I was Corey, I'd be like, say, what's in this? But maybe Corey's just fine with eating whatever. He seems like he's up for anything.
Buen provecho.
Ok, gracias. Lo primero que vas a agarrar es un pedacito de eso.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm worried that it's testicles. Cow testicles. Which I'm trying to think if I've had. I don't think I have. As an Asian person, I've eaten a lot of part of various animals, and so I can't remember all the different parts that I've eaten over the years. But anyway, let's watch this. I don't know. So it'd be one thing if they were palling around and they just wanted to play a joke and they're trying to bond with him, but I think that they're angry at him and they want to humiliate him, and you're going to do it through this. You're tricking him into eating something that he doesn't know what it is. Yikes.
Muy especial.
Yeah.
Hecho con mucho amor.
Tastes a little fatty. Why are you guys just staring at me eat?
So I think Corey's just playing, just isn't giving them the satisfaction. He's just like, why are you just watching me eat? I'm just eating. This is fine. I think Corey's like, okay, I think I know what's happening here, but I'm not going to play their game, and I'm just going to eat the soup, and I'll be fine. So, the bullying tactic didn't work.
Eat together.
You are eating a penis.
So I did not think about that. That was not on the menu in my mind. I've never even heard of that before. Wow. Why is that more disturbing than the other options I said? Yeah, Okay, let's see. Let's see. Now, Corey, you should have asked, what is this? So kind of on you. Now maybe Corey will be like, what are you gonna do? So, all right. Now, I think most hot dogs have at least part of this in it. Bologna, any of your sausages, your pepperonis, if you will. I think they put all that in there. So I'm guessing a lot of us have had that in more diffuse forms. Maybe. This is a good scene. I mean, I'm genuinely curious as to what Corey's going to do. I could see on one hand be like, oh, okay, well, interesting, and just go on eating it, or he could like go vomit. I think of the range of options are pretty great here. Let's see what he does.
What?
That is it.
This is?
Yeah.
This.
Yummy.
Now, in addition, that Evelyn would let this happen. It's, now maybe Evelyn knows, look, I know Corey, he's fine. We play these kind of games all the time. He'll roll with it. But I have to say, these kinds of pranks that I will see people do sometimes are sometimes really uncool to do to someone and can absolutely destroy any kind of trust that may or may not exist. So, but anyway, I think I'm still wondering what Corey, is he going to run to the bathroom and vomit, or is he going to be like, what are you going to do?
Como dice toro. Balls.
Is this a joke, or are you messing with me? Like, dude, I don't understand.
Yeah. Okay. So I think he's hurt and angry, which makes sense. Like, wait, is this some sort of, because it's bullying. This is just flat. He's at their mercy because he doesn't speak Spanish as well as they do. They ordered for him. And now he's like, wait, so was this all just because it's one thing to be eating this and being like, oh, I don't like this. Another thing to be like, wait, so in your head, the three of you conspired against me to hurt me, to humiliate me, to make me eat something that I didn't want. Are you against me? What is happening right now?
It is disgusting. The only way I can really put it into perspective is if you had a ball of like really fatty, buttery, mushy lard.
Do you have like a problem with me, or like?
All right. Interesting. I mean, you mess with the bull, you get the horns, if you will. You trick someone and make them eat something that you're hoping they think is disgusting. It is found to be disgusting by the target, by the victim, and they're upset. And the other sister seems to be more on the fence about this whole thing, but this one in the red top is acting like how old are they? I guess, who knows? They could literally be teenagers. I don't know, but they certainly are acting like it. But even Evelyn is passively involved, complicit. So it's interesting. I haven't seen this face on Corey before. He looks like he's legitimately going to blow, which I think would be justified.
I had a lot of problems with you. I don't like you. Evelyn told me the thing about that girl. Yeah.
All right. So, sometimes, every time I run into this sort of scene on this show, I think about Darcy, season 1, Jesse. Darcy's in the Netherlands, I believe, and Jesse's friend with the interesting outfit and interesting hair, if I remember right, starts to just blast Darcy. Like, I can't remember what he was doing, but he was just, Darcy's trying to be nice, and, oh, Jesse, this is your friend, and this friend is just in this super condescending, emotionally abusive way, just laying into Darcy. I just remember being like, oh boy. And this is and we've seen this scene a number of times, like with Dean and Hazel. I'm trying to think of another scene that we saw, and now we're seeing Evelyn's sister and Corey. That now, I guess the sisters are misinformed, right? Because Evelyn said we were still married and he was with this other one. So I guess if you misinform your sisters, then they're going to operate from that place. And instead, but did she tell the sisters that they were broken up? But anyway, the truth of the matter is, they both established, Evelyn and Corey agreed, they were broken up. And he left because they were broken up and he dated someone. So what's the problem?
Me? And I really don't happy with that.
But this was between like me and Evelyn, I feel like.
Here in Ecuador, it's between you and R because we are the sisters.
Okay. Now, if you're Corey, you're going to be like, okay, how do I deal with 3 people against me? I'm guessing what Corey's going to say is, maybe my sweet fiance did not tell you this, but she broke up with me. And so I dated someone because I thought I was never going to see her again. And I know we were legally married at the time, but that doesn't matter because I figured we were done. Divorce was 100% likely. And I met someone and I dated her for a week. So what's the problem? Let's see what he says.
I respect that, but I think that it's wrong that you brought this up because there's some things that
try to change this subject and turn this against me right now.
they shouldn't be involved in this issue between us. I don't.
So I think this is his first line of defense, which is, I don't think we should be triangulating your sisters into this situation. Because I think I'm guessing what Corey is running into is, okay, I'm now in a position where I have to defend myself, which is going to cause me to make you look bad, Evelyn, by the way, because I have a whole slew of, not only did you break up with me, but the things you said to me, the things you did to me, and I was in a lot of pain, and this other woman was just kind of like a rebound thing, and she kind of knew it, and she was a nice person, and we dated for a few days. And so I think he's running into, it's like, I don't want to go down this road because it's not only going to make you look bad, but it's going to cause a lot of ugliness in front of your sisters. And this is actually analogous to parents going through divorce, where the one parent will triangulate the children, and then the other parent, after the divorce, will be forced in a situation like, because the kids will come to them and say, you're the bad guy because of this. And now you're in this position like, wait, so I have to now defend myself to my children against my former spouse, but I don't want to do that. So I'm going to go to my former spouse and say, can you not triangulate our kids? Because we can have a problem with each other, and that's, what the way it's going to be, but don't involve other people, because that means we have to suck them into this situation, and that's not going to work. I think that's what Corey is doing right now. I don't think apparently it's not working.
Like, it's not something
Just answer their questions.
Okay.
I really want to know the whole history. Because you didn't tell her. So I want to know what happened for real.
All right. You're a concerned sister. How about you start with that and not bully him with the penis soup? How about just say, hey, my sister said some things. If I don't hear a good story, I'm going to get more angry, but I want to be open. So let me find out what happens. Okay, let's see what he says. I'm guessing he's going to say, she broke up with me and I dated someone. That's end of story.
It was a time of my life where I had a very broken heart. I was still trying to get over Evelyn because I assumed that we were done. I don't think Evelyn told you the full truth, to be honest with you.
No, yeah, she
I don't
did.
think she did.
We know that you are already married.
Wait, you told them that
Wow. Yeah, just imagine that. Like, you haven't told anyone. You haven't told 90 Day Fiancé. You haven't told the world. You haven't told your family. You haven't told your family. And then in a sort of triangulation moment, as a piece of evidence against me, you told your sisters that we were married? Like, what world am I in right now? we agreed that we weren't going to tell anyone about that. I'm guessing they agreed they were never going to tell anyone that. And that's why they were going through with the wedding, so that they could just move on like that was when they got married. So yeah, that's a huge bomb to drop in that situation. And I wonder how Evelyn's going to, forget about the sisters approving of me. Evelyn, what's the deal? I thought we were going to tell people together, or we weren't. Plus, if I remember right, Evelyn, because he really wanted to tell people that they were married, because he wanted to be married and he wanted to tell his family, people he's close to. His dad died, remember? And so he's, wants to have a connection with his mom. And she said, you cannot tell anyone. And then she tells people. So I don't know. Maybe giving Evelyn benefit of the doubt, she wanted to tell someone because they were about to get married and she wants to let the cat out of the bag, and she jumped the gun. Looking at it another way, Evelyn just used it as a triangulation tool and didn't think about how it would hurt his feelings.
Evelyn's sister's blessings, because it's really important to me. But I'm kind of freaking out right now because Evelyn's sisters are pissed and they don't know the half of it.
I am named my responsibility on asking for the space, but I never, not even once, say, Corey, go and try with every freaking hooker you find in Peru.
What? Okay, well, that's how Evelyn sees it. That's not fair, right? You broke up with him, and you've said... So let's just review all the different things that Evelyn has said regarding this breakup, space, whatever. At first she says, no, I just asked for space. And then later she said, no, I just wanted some time apart. And then later on she absolutely admitted, yes, we were broken up. I did break up with you. Our relationship was over. She established that. Now she's going back. No, then she says, yeah, I admit that I did break up with you, but that doesn't give you permission to be with every hooker in Peru. I think that it does, because you're no longer with someone. Now, you could say that in a certain cultural context that they have a value of, until you're divorced, you can't be with other people. And maybe they have that in their neck of the woods, in their community. Okay, I don't know. If I were Corey, I'd be like, can we not talk about this issue in front of the sisters? What would I do if I thought like Corey? What would I do? I turn to the sisters and say, look, yeah, we were married. I wish that we would have been able to tell you together, but yeah, we were married. It was more of a formality thing because I was going to get kicked out of the country. And so we got married on paper, and, we planned on eventually getting married, but we didn't really consider it to be a real marriage until we had our wedding and everyone was involved. And we were having a lot of fights, and I'm not going to go into the details because I don't want to out your sister, but let's just say that a lot of things were said, a lot of things were done, and I'm sure I'm, half to blame as well. And we talked about breaking up a lot, and she talked about breaking up with me a lot. She did break up with me. She didn't say just space. We were done. Why would I leave to Peru if we were still going to be together? We were done. Our relationship was done. I met someone, I dated her for a little time. I don't appreciate you calling her a hooker. She wasn't a hooker. She was a girl I met. She was fine. It was just a short-term thing. She was a friend more than anything else. And I know that it's bad on some level that we were still married, but I was in a really, really bad place. And I'm sorry. I don't think I cheated. That's not how I see it. I don't think that's even how Evelyn sees it. And I think that, and then I would turn to Evelyn, I'd be like, Evelyn, I understand that it hurts you that I was with someone, but understand that I was only not with you because you hurt me so bad. I've always wanted to be with you. And so if me dating this other person for a week somehow threatens your idea of how much love I have for you, let it be known that I love you and I want to be with you and I want to be there with you the rest of my life. That was just a 1 week thing. And at the time I was in a really bad place and I thought we were done. So I hope you just believe me. Maybe that's what I would say. Let's see what he says.
It's weighing on me that Evelin doesn't know the full truth about what happened with me and Jenny in Peru. And I do know I need to tell her. I want to tell her. I'm just really afraid of how she's gonna take it.
I was heartbroken. I really was.
La gente con el corazón roto no va a buscar otras chicas.
Yes, they do. People do it all the time. Maybe you don't, but people who are heartbroken might date the very next day. It happens all the time. And this is actually a huge pet peeve of mine because I started to research grief and loss. And at first I thought, so this little story is a student of mine. So I taught this class where it was a year long plus. So there were, about 5 to 6 students. They're at internship and they're in my class. And we met for 3 hours a week. We met once a week for 3 hours. And we were together for 12 to 18 months in a small room in a circle, just talking about cases and clinical things and about personal things. And there would sometimes be free time. And so I would ask students if they wanted me to lecture on something that I would. And a student of mine asked me to lecture on grief. And so I thought, this would be a good opportunity for me to look up the research and give it some thought. And what that began for me was years of research and writing and thinking and talking and all sorts of things. And I started writing a book of all things. And I got like halfway done with the manuscript on grief and other things got in the way. And so I have this half-written manuscript on grief and loss that I started, I think 8 years ago. And I'll probably never finish. I don't think I will. But anyway, I learned in that process that, long story short, one of the aspects of grief in our culture and maybe in other cultures around the world, what I found in the United States was you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, in that if your grief is too short, then there's something wrong with you. And if your grief is too long, then there's something wrong with you. And there's no span of time that is a good amount of grief. For example, and they just exhibited that. They're basically talking about grief. They're saying, you didn't grieve long enough, and that indicates there's something wrong with you. So if it were a year or two, and then he started dating someone else, that would be okay with them. But it would not be okay to other people, like his friends. His friends, 2 years down the line, would be like, dude, it's been 2 years. You can start dating now. You probably should start dating. But people will, and my point is there's no right way to grieve. Everyone grieves in a different way. And it's important that people listen to themselves. And grief is messy oftentimes. If you've ever lost someone, you've been through a divorce, someone's died close to you, it's not a clean line from like this to that. There's a lot of bumps in the road and a lot of weirdness and a lot of pain and a lot of behavior that sometimes you're not enthusiastic about later looking back. So this idea that, okay, you broke up and the relationship was over, and a few weeks later you started dating someone, there's something wrong with you because you did that. That idea is such a destructive idea in our culture. I mean, just examples like Amanda Knox, that whole story was, for the most part, as far as I can tell, based on, so from what I can tell, Amanda Knox was not guilty. I don't know that, but from the evidence, it looks like she was not guilty. And most of the experts agree she was not guilty. It's not just me. But she was convicted, right, in Italy, and especially by the jury of public opinion. And one of the main reasons why they were convinced that Amanda Knox had killed that person in Italy was because right after the murder, she was seen with her boyfriend and they were like hugging and kissing. And this is based on this idea that there's a certain path of grief. And if you do not exhibit it, particularly if you're a woman, by the way, then there's something deeply wrong with you. Look also into the Lindy Chamberlain story. So this is all part of my book and my lecture, by the way, on grief and disenfranchised grief, and also like how busted up we are about grief. The Lindy Chamberlain story in Australia, again, her grief was not the way that people in the public thought it should be, and she was convicted of killing ritualistically her own child instead of her child being carried off by a dingo. If you've ever seen that joke, my baby was a dingo ate my baby. It's a terrible joke, and please never make that joke because it's not funny. It's based on something that is real. A family was in the outback of Australia, and a dingo literally dragged a baby into the woods and ate it. And it was this tragedy for a family, but the additional tragedy is that the public and the police department and the authorities, at first, the authorities said, no, she didn't kill the baby. A dingo is big enough, can drag off a baby. But then public opinion started changing, and then she actually went to prison, I think for a few years, convicted of murdering her own child when in fact her child was killed by a wild animal. And a big portion of the reason why people were convinced, and research shows this in this particular case, that people were, including the jury, were convinced that she had killed her own child because there was no evidence. There was no body, there was no blood, there was nothing other than the fact that months later, as cameras were being shoved into her face, because it was this international story, she was kind of blank. She was walking into the courthouse and people thought she should be crying or something like this. And so anyway, my point is that this sister doesn't know this, I don't think, but that kind of thinking of grief is supposed to look like this, and if you don't fit those criteria, there's something deeply wrong with you. And what does that do? Well, one, it creates people being accused of crimes they didn't do, and there's actually many examples of this. Like there was this father who came home and fire trucks are around, and his house had burnt. It was like a trailer actually had burned down, and his 2 kids had perished, had died in the fire. And the police come up to him and they're like, what happened? And he's in a daze. He's like, well, I was out at the store and I came back and I saw the fire. And he was convicted as well. He was later exonerated of killing and murdering his children because the police officer didn't think that he had enough grief. But people grieve in a lot of different ways. Sometimes people turn off their feelings because they're dealing with something that is so difficult to deal with that they can't do anything else. But then of course we can imagine if the father broke down crying, they'd be like, oh, he's faking it, anyway. So, but that's just extreme examples. There are countless examples in families or in situations where people are judged for not grieving the way that they're supposed to grieve. But what does that do? Well, one, it causes a lot of judgment. The other thing it does is for the grievers, it causes so much problem. I mean, I'm guessing there are a good number of you out there who have gone through a loss, divorce, getting fired from a job, death, breakup, these kinds of things, and you were busted up for a long time, and you had various different experiences of grief. You had times when you were crying, you had times when you were rebuilding, you had times when you wanted to reminisce, you had times when you just wanted to move on. And you felt pressure from other people that you weren't doing it right, that there was something wrong with it's 5 years ago, get over it. Or how come you're dating right afterwards? Or how come you're posting something funny on Instagram when your mom died two weeks ago? Like, what's wrong with you? People grieve in different ways. Research has shown this. It's important that we allow for that idea. And so that's my soapbox about telling Corey that a few weeks after a breakup, essentially a divorce, that there's something wrong with him for dating someone for a week. I think it was a week. I think that's what he said. I don't know, but I don't think it was very long.
People with broken heart don't go in a hunt for women.
I wasn't going on a hunt for women.
Oh, you 100%. Stop acting stupid. You were trying to stick your in some Peruvians.
Wow. We're getting into Angela territory. That's abusive language. She's calling Jenny a hooker. You're sticking your thing in some Peruvians. If I were Corey, I'd be like, we're done. This is like, if this is your attitude and you're going to do this in front of your sisters, like, we're done here.
So now you eat that all the way till the end of the freaking plate.
Look, I do want to say that I am very sorry for everything that happened. And whether you want to believe it or not, it will never happen again.
You're damn right, not gonna happen again.
Yikes. If this is an indication of their relationship, this is starting to look abusive. I mean, I haven't seen evidence of that up until this point, but given all the other ancillary things that we've seen that I didn't think were red flags, but now looking back, maybe they were. Because he's also being extremely nice about this. Like, he is acting nice. He's not fighting back. He's saying, please accept me. This is disturbing to watch. Because we just have to, so why is it disturbing to me? I think it's disturbing because when I think about their whole, seeing this scene, it repaints their entire relationship to me. It makes me wonder if this whole time has been a relationship where one person has less agency, one person has less worth.
I'm gonna ask that one day I'll have your forgiveness.
I can't forget what you did. But if my sister forgave you, I'm going to be there for her. If any time you hurt her, I'm going to kill you.
Okay, she literally just threatened to kill him. Now, I'm guessing that's an exaggeration, but given everything we've seen thus far, there has been, from the beginning with Raul, I actually was on the fence about Raul. I thought maybe he was a good guy. He seemed like I couldn't tell if he was the nicest guy on the planet or kind of not. I don't want to put a label to it, but like, and then Evelin, and then the way that the townspeople were talking about him and were like bullying him when he was walking. I don't think I showed that scene. He's walking down the beach and they start calling him this name or anyway. And from the beginning, I've been wondering, like, in Evelin's circle, is it, what's a good word for it? There's an internet word for it that I won't use, but are they all, not Evelin's town, because we understand that we've only seen a very small percentage of the people in this town. Is there something nefarious about them on some level? Because there's a lot of mean behavior. I'm just going to say a simple word, just a lot of mean behavior. The sisters, Evelin, the few friends that we saw on the beach, Raul, because we remember Raul was like, yeah, everyone in town calls him this terrible name, and you know, it's kind of mean, but I don't know, I think it's kind of funny, and I'm his friend. And they all call him a name because someone cheated, because Evelin cheated on him. Because Evelin cheated on him, everyone calls him a name. And I've seen this on the internet before. Like, what? How? Anyway, and you shouldn't call anyone names, but how did Corey end up? So he's the victim of being cheated on, and he is somehow this not quite a man, or anyway. Geez. So there's a nefariousness is the word. A callousness, that's another word. That's a better word. Callousness, a lack of empathy that I've seen in, the handful of people in this storyline. And Corey, I think, has been a repeated victim of that. Now, of course, this show only shows us this tiny little sliver. But let me know what you think in the comments. Have you detected that from the beginning of the story? There's been an unease that I've felt about the world that he's been living in Evelin's world.
For real.
All right, well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle. If you didn't know already, we have merch, and we also do Cameo. So if you want to do merch and get merch for yourself or other people, you can do that. Click the link below. We have mugs and shirts and all sorts of things. The Podwife, my wife Stacy, designs everything, and she toils over it. It's a labor of love for her. She doesn't just throw stuff out there. She's very careful about the designs that she puts out. And we often get suggestions from the listeners as to, what sort of designs. And anyway, but up to you. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.